Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. She lost her breast because of a mistaken cancer diagnosis.
That surgery was scheduled so fast, just convinced me it's very, very bad.
Why her fight is far from over. Plus, massive ferry frustration.
I have 2 babies backside and we are waiting 2 hours here now.
This whole line hasn't moved yet.
I'm going to drink coffee and just wait.
More long lines and confusion for passengers.
News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. We begin tonight with a mistaken cancer diagnosis for a North Vancouver woman. It ended up with her losing a breast. In her push for justice, a jury concluded the doctor who made the diagnosis was negligent. But as Zara Premji reports, the fight is far from over.
My story started 7 years ago.
Well-known dog groomer, wife and mother Elena Ivanova says time stood still when she was diagnosed with the rare form of aggressive breast cancer in 2016.
I was very scared and I had this fear of death.
Court documents claim her surgeon said the only option was a full mastectomy right away. She was still recovering, then mentally preparing for radiation and chemotherapy when her oncologist dropped another bombshell.
Because I was told I don't have cancer and I have never did cancer. And the diagnosis was incorrect.
Her breast removed unnecessarily.
If you don't have it, how you can be told you do have cancer, yeah?
Ivanova says she still lives with pain and weakness.
There was a verdict in Elena's favor at the end of a 3-week jury trial.
A BC Supreme Court civil jury awarded her $400,000 in damages from Dr. Robert Wolber, the pathologist who was found to have wrongfully diagnosed her with cancer. But so far, Ivanova has only seen a fraction of that. Dr. Wolber is appealing the jury's verdict. He has not responded to requests from CBC News for comment. But in response to Ivanova's lawsuit, he argues everything he did was appropriate and up to standards.
It's challenging to pursue an action where the defense is so well funded.
Ivanova says on top of hefty bills for court proceedings, along with pain and suffering, the mastectomy has done long-lasting damage to her physical and mental health.
I don't feel like a normal woman anymore. Yeah, I had to throw away all my dresses, what I really love to wear.
But Ivanova hopes her story can help others.
And ask for second opinion, for third opinion, and ask doctors to explain everything, because it's their job.
Now she'll have to wait at least another year before finding out a potential verdict of the appeal. Zara Premji, CBC News, Burnaby.
Frustrating day for some BC Ferries passengers trying to get between Tsawwassen and Swartz Bay. Travelers without a reservation were reportedly facing up to a 12-hour wait this morning, but BC Ferries is insisting the wait was not actually that long. The crunch comes as a big ship is in dry dock getting a leak repaired. Dan Burrett joins us live with more on this. Dan, walk us through what happened today.
It is among the busiest times of year for BC Ferries as people travel for the summer, Anita, and the coastal celebration. A busy boat is out of service. But around 6 this morning, BC Ferries' website indicated no room for vehicles without reservations from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That is an 8 sailing wait. Now, as of 9 this morning, the website says the earliest walk-on reservation available was 1 p.m. The backups left many passengers with and without reservations frustrated as those lineups built.
We were planning to go on 8 a.m. Then we were okay with leaving at 9, but now we have to leave probably at 1, 2 p.m.
This whole line hasn't moved yet.
They should have been informing people who are coming and doesn't have the reservation.
They have told us we should wait hours with 3 children. I have 2 babies backside and we are waiting 2 hours here now.
We're a little bit frustrated because we had a voucher, but now, it is what it is. I'm going to read my book, I'm going to drink a coffee, and just wait.
This afternoon, BC Ferries insists there was not such a long lineup as their website showed. It says the system automatically assumes all passengers with reservations will show up. Ferry says not so today.
What happened this morning out of Tsawwassen was that about 10 to 20% of our customers, they didn't show up for their reservations. So tower controllers are able to recognize that, update the space available within current conditions based on customer no-shows, and then we turn it over to our crews to load the vessels to their maximum capacity. So what that meant is actually what happened this morning at Tsawwassen was that most customers were on a ferry by 11 a.m. with unreserved customers experiencing 1 to 2 sailing waits.
Johnston says they are doing manual overrides of the current conditions on their websites to show the most up-to-date information, and they sympathize with people who had to wait. Ferries says Twitter is a good place to check up-to-date conditions, but understands not everyone is on that website. Officials say the coastal celebration could be back in service by the end of the week. They're checking on it now, but with it out, they are down 8 sailings. And at last check, Anita, the 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and 9 p.m. sailings out of Tsawwassen to Swartz Bay are full. The next is tomorrow morning at 6. The 7 p.m. sailing from Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen is also full. The 8 and 9 p.m. sailings, half full. Anita.
Busy times indeed. Thank you, Dan. The St. Mary's River fire in BC's southeast has grown to more than 4,000 hectares in size, leaving a trail of devastation in its path. Hundreds of people remain on evacuation alert. Dozens are still unable to return home. The CBC's Corey Bullock is speaking with one family who will have to start from scratch.
A multi-generational home burnt to the ground.
My auntie's house was a foundation for not only her immediate family, but for our extended family.
Blaine Burgoyne lived in the house too. It's one of 7 in the First Nations community of Akum, destroyed by wildfire.
Losing this house is losing a big part of our family history. As Tanaka people, we have lived on these lands since the time immemorial.
The St. Mary's River fire first broke out in the Akum community on July 17th. Hundreds in the region are still on evacuation alert. Dozens were forced to leave.
We know there are 7 families who lost their homes and another number of about 36 that remain on evacuation order within the community. That's been the only change in this area to evacuation orders or alerts.
Crews are still working to uncover the full extent of the damage, and rebuilding will take a long time.
The community is continuing to rally and focus and support one another, so we're doing our best to support them.
It just kind of shows you community and what community really stands for. And I think with this disaster, it really brought everybody together a lot more.
Akum is asking that community donations go through their administration, while families like Burgoyne's have set up their own fundraisers. In the meantime,
I think what people can do for our community is just keep us in their thoughts.
The BC Wildfire Service says control lines around the St. Mary's River fire are holding steady. While the community grapples with so much loss, the hope is the weather cooperates and the flames dwindle quickly. Corey Bullock, CBC News, Cranbrook.
And hundreds of people living in and around Invermere are watching a new wildfire closely as it burns just outside of town. As Rihanna Schmunk reports, the constant sight and smell of wildfire smoke is making residents uneasy.
How do you feel about the fire?
Maya Richardson sums it up.
Yeah, it's a little scary. You come to visit Grandma in Parson, BC, and the fire is a little bit close, isn't it?
Firefighting planes were going back and forth above Invermere today. The Horse Thief Creek fire is burning just 10 kilometers away, just on the other side of the hill. The fire exploded in size after starting Monday afternoon.
It feels comforting that we've got some water bombers overhead that are here now. There's been a lot of heavy equipment moved into place. Wildfire services are on it and working. This close and this visible, it's been years. It's been years, probably 15 years ago at least. This is pretty close for comfort.
More than 1,000 properties in and around the community are on evacuation alert because of the fire, including Panorama Mountain Resort. 24 properties and recreation spots are also under evacuation order. The smoke has been visible all day today on the hill behind me just outside of town here, despite cooler temperatures and even a little bit of rain this afternoon. The BC Wildfire Service says they are on the lookout tonight for thunderstorms that could bring winds of up to 65 kilometers an hour. The service also says it's been difficult to get an idea of just exactly how big this fire is because of the tricky terrain and the smoke making it difficult to fly, but it is still considered to be out of control. No matter how big the fire is, it is still worrisome for those in town.
Lots of people working hard to contain the fires that are quite close. We have a bug-out bag. We have a bag ready to go just in case.
Rihanna Schmunk, CBC News, Invermere.
And an aggressive wildfire is still burning near Kamloops despite some much-needed precipitation. BC Wildfire Service says the Rossmore Lake fire, which is burning at just over 26 square kilometers, currently poses no threat to the city. The fire sparked 5 days ago and has forced the evacuation of 344 properties in the Thompson-Nicolet Regional District. The Wildfire Service says drought conditions have made it harder to contain fires in the initial attack phase, meaning small fires are able to grow quickly.
We do expect things to warm up again in the coming days. We're certainly in conditions that are very, very challenging for our crews, and we know that the fire behavior will increase once this cooler weather passes through in the next few days.
Construction along the nearby Trans Mountain pipeline expansion has been paused. TMX contractors have been sharing equipment with BC Wildfire Service crews. More than 500,000 hectares have burned across BC so far. That's the most in modern recorded history. And the province is creating a new support to help farmers dealing with a shortage of food for their animals. It's called Access to Feed, and it aims to match farmers and ranchers with international suppliers who have hay and feed to sell. The BC Cattlemen's Association is a partner in the project. Their general manager says it's been a challenging year for farmers.
Typically, we have a rainy season in the fall that would help to build that soil moisture, which we didn't get. And on the other end of winter, we went from winter almost immediately to summer.
Kevin Boone says farmers have about a third of their normal stock of feed. That means many will be forced to sell some of their herd. He's hoping this new solution will provide another option to farmers. Darius is away tonight. Ethan Williams has been watching the wildfire situation and joins us now with the first look of the weather.
Well, we'll start with a look at our fire risk in the province, and we have definitely seen a reduction in that over the past 24 hours or so from much-needed rainfall. But in southeastern sections along the Kootenays, where we are seeing those fires still happening, especially, we are still in that high to extreme risk in that part of the province. And even through the north, we're starting to see that risk increase as well. Now, in terms of what we're looking at in terms of air quality statements, those are still in place right now through the Thompson and Caribou regions, through Kamloops and Revelstoke. And of course, you heard about the fires in the Invermere area as well, down toward the Alberta border and the Fernie area. Likely going to be seeing the air quality health index increase in those areas. Smoke is not going to be very widespread, but will be localized as these fires continue to burn. Metro Vancouver, I think, will stay clear of that. And even a little bit in the north, we'll be seeing that popping up at times. Now, for Metro Vancouver, the coastal sections and the island, it's been all about the rain. And we'll have totals and details on that coming up in your full forecast.
Thanks, Ethan. 2 men are missing in the North Okanagan after they disappeared while boating in 2 separate instances on lakes in the Vernon area. Brady Strachan was at both scenes today, where the RCMP as well as search and rescue continue to look for the men.
Here on the shore of Okanagan Lake in the Ellison Park area, the water is fairly calm. But last night it was a different story when a storm hit the valley and strong winds whipped up waves on the water's surface. Now, the RCMP say 2 boaters are missing. One of them was in a commercial shrimp harvesting boat on Okanagan Lake, a nighttime activity. That boat took on water and sank.
When the vessel tried to change course, it apparently took on water and capsized. The man inside that boat is unaccounted for. There was a worker on the smaller vessel being towed behind who witnessed it, and that person made it safely to shore.
Today, part of the vessel is visible a few hundred meters from shore, and that is the area where an RCMP boat has been focusing the search for the missing 50-year-old man. And on nearby Kalamalka Lake, about 20 kilometers from here, there's a search for another missing boater. The RCMP say a 26-year-old Alberta man tried to cross part of the lake during the storm and hasn't been seen since. His friends called the RCMP and his kayak was located later, but the man remains missing. Police say he wasn't wearing a life jacket.
Kalamalka, Okanagan are two pretty big lakes, and I think a lot of times people underestimate just the effect that storms can have on them. You know, the waves can get to be quite large. With wind, you can be disoriented. It's a long way to land, so we always want people to be prepared for that.
A search and rescue boat is leading the search for the missing man. The RCMP say they're still treating these two cases as missing persons investigations. However, an RCMP dive team has been called in and should hit the water in the coming days. Brady Strachan, CBC News in the North Okanagan.
A Vancouver police officer who hit and injured a pedestrian last fall could face charges. After looking into the crash, the Independent Investigations Office has sent a report to Crown Counsel to consider charges. It happened in September on East Hastings Street near Main and Columbia. The incident was captured on video, some of which was shared on social media. The police watchdog writes that reasonable grounds exist to believe one officer may have committed driving offenses. The matter is now before the BC Prosecution Service. Well, it's a big match for Canada tomorrow at the FIFA Women's World Cup. They tied Nigeria in their first match and are now hungry for a win to move up in their group. Our Lindsay Duncombe is in Perth tonight, and she tells us Team Canada's Irish opponents are highly motivated as well.
Training today for the Canadian women looked focused but fun. There is no question that draw with Nigeria in the first match was disappointing, but the women tell us they are ready for Ireland.
We don't take anything for granted, any team for granted. Of course, they have that physical piece, but, you know, at the end of the day, they can also play football, and I think that tactical piece is important as well, just as much as the physicality piece.
Moving forward, we're finding the rhythm, we're finding the flow, and that's all we can ask, and I think we're getting ourselves in good positions, and it's just about putting away the ball now.
This is the first time that Ireland is in the World Cup. They're ranked 22nd in the world, but they're from a soccer-mad country and they're a physical team. Look at that first match with Australia. Now, the Irish women lost, but they only lost by 1 goal. And when they come into this match, already with that loss behind them, they have nothing to lose. Here's how Bev Priestman is preparing for the match.
First and foremost, match that passion, hard work, horrible team to play against, and that's what we pride ourselves on, so we 1,000,000% have to match that first.
Canada is going to have to contend with a heavily Irish-focused crowd. That's because a lot of Irish people live in Australia and a lot of those people live in Perth. Combine that with the people who are traveling with the team, the fans that have come from Ireland, and there's going to be a lot of green in the stands.
Hugely passionate. Obviously, this is our first major tournament for the women's team. There's a huge tradition with men's football, but now I suppose to have that cohort in behind the women's team is massive. Hugely passionate fans, hugely supportive, and just get behind the country for everything and anything.
Two things to watch for with the starting 11. Number one, will Jessie Fleming play? She didn't start against Nigeria. She was training today, looks strong, so she could be on the pitch. The second thing, what about Kadisha Buchanan? Kadisha Buchanan did not play in training today. That is because the coach said she had an illness. It is expected not to be serious, but with illnesses, you never know. So a couple of things to watch for there as we get ready for another big match. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Perth.
It's the second round of voting in our search for BC's best lake, and today you can have your say on your favorites in the southwest of the province and the interior. The CBC's Justin McElroy has more.
There are thousands and thousands of lakes in this province, but only 32 are left in the search for BC's best lake, where we've gotten thousands and thousands of votes. And the most serene of the 32 left is probably the one I'm standing in front of, Cameron. Now, ordinarily, there would be plenty of boats on the water at this time of the year on this beautiful lake next to Port Alberni, but for one reason, it's not right now. That's a wildfire that happened a few weeks ago up on those bluffs. Now, you can see there's no flames anymore, but there was a threat in terms of landslides that could happen as a result. So the road is only open for 2 hours a day to single alternating traffic, meaning that right now this little slice of heaven is completely serene. But in terms of the voting, it is losing at the moment to Comox Lake, just a few hours north. A sign anything can happen in this competition. Two other matchups are neck and neck at this point, where still anything can happen. Both on the mainland, one close to Vancouver, where Cultus Lake, the #1 seed in the Southwest, is currently losing ever so narrowly to Bunsen Lake, which has gotten the support of BC Hydro, of all organizations. Whereas in the Kootenays, Christina Lake is famed for its water, but it too is very close right now with Kootenay Lake, maybe a sign of name recognition for the rest of the province. At the end of the day, there will just be 16 lakes left in this competition. It's still anyone's guess as to which will be crowned the best. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Cameron Lake.
And callers to our noon radio show, BC Today, have been telling our host, Michelle Elliott, which lake they're supporting. Have a listen.
My fellow British Columbians, I think it would be a travesty if the winner of this contest were not Canada's warmest freshwater lake in Canada's only desert, and that's the Soyuz Lake.
Yeah, I'm voting for Soyuz too. You can watch that whole discussion from BC Today on CBC Gem on our website and on CBC Vancouver's YouTube page. And if you'd like to vote for Soyuz Lake or any of the other contenders, visit cbc.ca/bestlakebc. It accounts for nearly half of the world's rice exports, but India has caused a big stir at stores around the world after announcing a major rice export ban. After the break, how sellers are handling the sudden shortage of this kitchen staple. Thanks for watching our commercial-free live stream tonight. There are mounting concerns over the health of freshwater fish habitats given BC's drought conditions. Many streams and rivers are experiencing record low flows for this time of year and are expected to drop even more as the summer goes on. As John Hernandez reports, fishermen say they're worried about the effects on local fish stocks.
It's a shallow wade into this usually busy fishing hole at Chilliwack River, and there hasn't been much luck here either.
The flow is really diminished compared to what we had typically last year or in a typical year.
Lifelong fisherman Travis Heathman says these rock islands are usually underwater this time of year, and the fish are hard to come by.
They don't have a lot of protection because there's not a lot of deep water, so they're getting concentrated in small areas.
Small areas like this deep pocket just up the river where many anglers have descended to. But even here, most lines are coming up empty.
It's pretty concerning. I haven't seen as many fish come through as I'd like to see. And I feel like they don't have the confidence to want to push up from the mouth of the river, right? Because it's too low.
The BC River Forecast Center says it's seen record low flows in rivers across the Lower Mainland Basin. It's currently at drought level 4, meaning adverse effects to ecosystems are likely. But there's even bigger concerns on the horizon, with flows expected to drop even further through the summer before chum, coho, and pink salmon attempt to pass through in the fall.
We're going to not have a lot of water here, and the water temperatures are going to be a lot warmer than they are right now, which doesn't do the salmon very much good. So a lot of these fish may die before they get a chance to spawn, which would be a real shame.
It's just another cut of the 1,000 cuts that southern BC salmon have had to endure.
This salmon researcher says it's too early to tell what the impact will be, but points to the tens of thousands of salmon found dead during a drought near Bella Bella last year as a warning sign.
If we know that water is bound for a stream or groundwater that's going to affect the salmon stream, we should be doing everything we can to protect that.
The province says it's considering water use restrictions to conserve fish habitat if needed, but the decisions will be made regionally. Meanwhile, those on the riverbanks simply pray for rain. John Hernandez, CBC News, Chilliwack.
decision by the world's largest rice exporter to halt roughly half of its shipments is fueling panic buying in this country. India made the move last week, and as Anita Bathe tells us, it's triggering fears of more global food inflation.
See, so that's $2 more, $16.99 and $18.99.
Bags of rice are flying off the shelves.
It's a staple for me. I don't feel full without rice in my belly, so yeah.
Siraj Muhammad eats rice every day. When he heard India will no longer export certain types of it, he rushed to the store.
Because of the ban now, I'm not going to be able to get my hands on it, I guess. Yeah, so I guess I'll stock up a bit.
As supply dwindles across the country, many international grocers are rationing how much customers can buy.
They were lining up a lot. They were trying to bring more family members and each one trying to pick 2 or 3 at a time.
Uneven monsoon rains in India have damaged crops, so the country banned exports of non-basmati white rice like Sona Masuri.
It's an urgency for them that they have such a large population and depend on, feeding their own people first.
Rice prices in India are up nearly 12% over the past year. This economist says while the ban will lower costs for people there, it'll drive up prices in international markets.
These are foods that are half or more the calories for a lot of people living in poverty. So it hits vulnerable people pretty hard.
India will continue to trade basmati rice, its best-known variety, which is not as critical for its own domestic food security. But panicked customers are even buying more of that. The increased demand is worrying for some restaurants.
I don't know what's going to happen going forward because our 90% of our business is with rice.
About 20% of Canada's rice imports come from India, and just a sliver falls under the ban. Still, the prospect of higher prices is unwelcome news for shoppers.
So it was used to be around $28 earlier, now it's coming to around $40. So we are definitely feeling the pinch now.
Many may have to turn to other types of rice if this export ban sticks for too long. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
And for more on this, we bring in UBC Food and Resource Economics professor Rick Barrichello live with us. Rick, we've already seen the price of rice increase significantly before this. How much higher could prices actually go with this latest ban?
It's very hard to judge, Anita, but the prices of many suppliers now have gone up 10% on world markets. And those prices will probably moderate somewhat by the time they get to our retail prices, but prices are likely to go up, as you say.
And with the results of climate change impacting all sorts of crops around the world, is this just the beginning? Are we likely to see this sort of thing happen with other foods and in other countries in the years to come?
Well, all the cereal prices tend to move somewhat together. And so this is definitely going to contribute to increased demand for wheat and all the substitutes. We've seen that, but each commodity has its own character and it's very hard to predict. Like even in this case, we don't know how they will enforce the ban. They have had bans before that they then relax, or maybe they will, El Nino might strengthen, and we don't know how bad the monsoon season will be. And other countries, we don't know whether they'll follow suit. So these are all other uncertainties that make it hard to know whether it'll be as bad as it looks like it might be at this time.
So keeping all of that in mind and the fact that there's already panic buying, the headlines are rampant, are we sort of freaking out here over something that may not actually hurt us that much in Canada?
It's true. In 2007 or 8, India did the same thing and Vietnam did the same thing, and rice prices doubled and tripled. On the other hand, more recently, they've put bans in place and then they've relaxed them and then they've made them shorter. And so they haven't had much of an effect in those cases. So it is possible that there could be a bit of a bubble here in that we're expecting the worst and it might not be quite that bad.
UBC Food and Resource Economics professor Rick Barrichello live with us tonight. Thank you so much. Coming up, 7 federal ministers are leaving cabinet tomorrow. Who's in, who's out? More on Trudeau's shuffle next.
The era began with Bill Dobson as a boy. Bill Dobson's student came next. But what he lived for was Bill Dobson, radio announcer at Chubb in Nanaimo. It was 22 years ago that the intrepid Dobson made his entrance to the CBC newsroom, and frankly, things have never been the same. Bill began by covering the events of the day, as most of us do, in fairly routine fashion. When teenagers rioted in North Vancouver on Halloween night, 1966, Dobson was there.
Yesterday afternoon, I bought several pumpkin candles here. Last night, it was the scene of mob violence. Let's take a look at the scene as it was last night. The first call for fire hoses was turned down because the fire department had orders to stand by for legitimate calls and not to risk equipment in a riot. As the battle reached its peak, the mob turned to rock showing and windows began to go. With each crash of plate glass, there was a cheer from the mob. Every time a youngster was caught, a loud boo.
Dobson knew BC and the people who people listened to, like NW's master of the owl prowl, Jack Cullen. But on occasion, he could be persuaded to talk to outsiders, especially if he thought there was something to learn. Unfortunately, the tapes of this conversation have been erased, but it's equally clear that our man Dobson was a good listener.
No, my friend, I'm talking about the bottom line. So remember, my friends, today is the day of our destruction.
Dobby became our man to put things in perspective when the world seemed to be falling apart.
This here's Marlborough country. Ugh.
Oh, that's milk. This is my head talking. Is the rest of my body back down there? Oh, thank goodness. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Oh, be right off the runway in a minute.
I guess the thing we love most about Bill is that while he's always taken his work seriously and loves it with a passion, he never takes himself seriously.
Bill Dobson, CBC News on Grouse Mountain.
Prime Minister Trudeau will shake up his cabinet tomorrow, and it looks like there will be some major changes. Here's the CBC's Karina Roman with a preview.
7 ministers will no longer sit at the cabinet table after tomorrow, according to sources with knowledge of the shuffle but not authorized to speak publicly. Marco Mendicino, the public safety minister, is being dropped, likely over his handling of the Paul Bernardo prison transfer, as well as foreign interference in gun legislation. Justice Minister and Attorney General David Lametti is also out, as is Treasury Board President Mona Fortier. Some ministers have decided not to run in the next election.
As a result of this decision, I'm also stepping aside from my role as minister because the Prime Minister deserves a cabinet who is committed to running in the next federal campaign.
Also departing politics, Helena Jasic, the Public Services and Procurement Minister, Joyce Murray, Fisheries and Oceans Minister, and Mental Health and Addictions Minister Carolyn Bennett. With so many leaving, sources say a half-dozen rookies will be sworn in. As to who the new faces might be, cryptic answers.
Those who don't know can't answer that question, and those who do know can't answer that question. So I can't answer that question.
Or stock answers by those who might end up moving portfolios.
I serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister, and I say this because really I didn't see myself ever being in a position like this. So whatever or wherever he wants me, I will be.
Sources say Anita Anand will leave defence and move to an economic portfolio. CBC journalists saw Anand heading to the Prime Minister's residence this morning, as well as Sean Fraser and Bill Blair. And there will be a restructuring of departments to put a greater focus on housing. Those who are staying and not changing portfolios: Chrystia Freeland as Finance and Deputy Prime Minister, Melanie Joly as Foreign Affairs Minister, Stephen Guilbeault as Climate Change Minister. Karina Roman, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, humane societies and animal shelters across Canada are now overwhelmed with the number of pets that owners are handing over. The CBC's Travis Denraj explains why it's happening.
No, I didn't know.
Cute and cuddly, but now homeless. 2 kittens abandoned amid an affordability crisis. The pair being shuffled to Toronto's Humane Society, the organization that rescued them, overwhelmed.
I mean, we have a lot of people, we get emails every day or every other day asking us to surrender cats, asking if they can surrender cats to us. We just don't have the resources.
Inside, cages upon cages of animals waiting for a home.
It's dogs, cats, rabbits, guinea pigs. Right now we even have some snakes.
Pet surrenders are way up, adoptions down. Shelters saying in many cases people who adopted pets during the pandemic are now overwhelmed. Add that to rising inflation and job insecurity. While this shelter isn't at capacity, smaller ones across the country are, raising fears of the worst.
No one goes into this industry, whether it's within sheltering or veterinary care, to euthanize animals. That's not what we want to be in. Same with pet owners. That's probably the worst days of their lives.
Calgary-based Parachute for Pets helps families avoid that.
Pet food bank, education, vet care assistance, anything that can break down the barrier that's going to cause a pet guardian to have to surrender or euthanize their pet.
There's also a push toward more foster parents as a bridge to being reunited with their owners.
It's real rough. Cost of living keeps going up.
Joe Medeiros is finding it tough to provide basic vet care. Loki has an ear infection.
With COVID, like work was limited for everybody, and then cost of living just tripled or more in places, right?
Even if you can't foster or adopt, pet organizations say you can still help by donating cash or pet supplies like toys and food to your local shelter. Travis Denraj, CBC News, Toronto.
Startling scenes out of Greece as wildfires send thousands fleeing. Why some business owners say the timing couldn't be worse, and what that means for the country's economy. Next.
Hey, I'm Johanna Wagstaff.
And hi there, I'm Rohit Joseph.
And we're asking for 10 minutes of your day to go through the 10 things that the UN recommends we can all do when it comes to climate change.
Please don't leave.
No.
And also, the things aren't new.
We are just wired to not do them.
We promise you to help you figure out your brains, and you and your people can make better choices to combat climate change.
10 Minutes to Save the Planet is available now on CBC Listen and everywhere you get your podcasts.
The wildfire situation in Greece continues to challenge fire crews as thousands of people flee a popular tourist island. The country's prime minister says the worst days are still to come. As the CBC's Peter Armstrong reports, the cost of this disaster will linger long after the flames are extinguished.
Through intense heat and winds, firefighters across Greece are battling back the flames. This water bomber, a Canadair CL-215, crashed into a hillside, killing 2 Greek pilots. The devastation here is astounding, shocking locals who are facing the destruction of both their homes and their businesses, all during what should be the peak of the tourist season.
Our houses maybe not be there tomorrow, maybe now we're on fire, we don't know what to do.
As many as 20,000 tourists have been forced to flee their hotels. Some walked, others were rescued by boats on beaches.
Hell on earth. Never thought I'd be caught up in something like that.
The Greek Prime Minister pointed to climate change. He says we know things will probably get worse, not better, with warmer temperatures, more droughts and stronger winds. Not exactly encouraging news for business owners.
At the moment, it's a little bit of a disaster. All the beaches are empty. There's no one here at the moment. I think people will come back. It depends on the tourists.
Tourism makes up as much as 25% of the Greek economy, and experts say the cost of climate-related disasters is climbing fast.
Because we've been so slow in tackling the underlying causes of climate change, we're now stuck with the costs of dealing with the impacts.
Governments will have to pay to put out the fires, then pay to rebuild after all the destruction. As tourists flee, they take their money with them.
At exactly the time when they need even more money to invest in making their economy more resilient to these impacts in the future, because the impacts are going to get worse.
And he says the urgency now abundantly clear. If governments don't act now, they'll spend more later as climate-related disasters get worse. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, London.
And Ethan Williams is back with a look at your full forecast for the weather.
Well, some much-needed rain coming to coastal sections of the province, including at YVR, where we picked up close to 19 millimeters. That is the first time we've had measurable rainfall at the airport since June 19th. And in fact, this is pretty much all the rain that we got in the month of June. Usually in Vancouver, we see about 54 millimeters in the month of June. West Vancouver picking up a little bit more rain over these past 24 to 36 hours. Squamish close to 20, and out on the island some amounts as well, near 13 millimeters in Victoria, and off the west coast of the island a lot of rain near Effingham, where we picked up about 62 millimeters. Now I think rain going to come to an end tonight, especially in coastal sections. We'll start to see that migrate a bit eastward, but through the Peace region and central portions of the interior, we're going to continue to see that rainfall overnight tonight. Tomorrow we're looking for mostly just pop-up showers and thunderstorms along the coast and the island, and that rain still continuing in northeastern sections of the province. For the southeast, where we are really looking at dry conditions in the Okanagan and the Kootenays, not much rainfall coming, and in fact it's mostly just going to be pop-up showers and thunderstorms that we're looking for. For the northeast section of the province, where the most rain is going to be falling, probably at 15 millimeters is where we'll be topping out. For Metro Vancouver, this is all dependent on thunderstorms that pop up, but for the rest of us, again, very, very dry, only about a millimeter or two, and that'll be coming possibly in the form of some thunderstorms. We'll have to look out for lightning risk, especially where we are seeing those fires, mid to upper 20s. Seasonal for the coast and for the island, around 20 20 degrees tomorrow. And then as you head further north, a little bit cooler. We're looking for temperatures about 15 to 20 degrees. For Metro Vancouver, we're looking for a pretty seasonal day ourselves tomorrow. Around 20 degrees, chance of showers and thunderstorms come the afternoon. Things clearing out as we head into the weekend and getting a warm up as well. Heading into Sunday, maybe a chance of showers as well. And then another warm up heading into the beginning of next week, where humidex levels could make it feel close to 30 degrees in Metro Vancouver.
Wow, thanks, Ethan. The 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris are now 1 year away. There was a ceremony to unveil the Olympic torch today and update preparations for the Games. The CBC's Sarah Levitt takes us through what we should look for.
The Eiffel Tower, France's most iconic monument, and its reflection in the Seine, transformed into a recycled steel torch. With a year to go before the Olympics, the torch unveiled and taken out for a spin.
It will be a big party of sport, but and also a big party of the importance of this city, the beauty of this city.
Paris, used to the spotlight, now in full preparation.
Spectacular games, but also the games with purpose, engaged. And that's why we want to reduce by half the carbon footprint.
With much of Europe dealing with unprecedented heat, the health of athletes is top of mind. There are no plans to use air conditioners in the athletes' village. Instead, a water cooling system is being set up under the village. Organizers say they learned lessons from Tokyo, where the heat and humidity caused dozens to fall ill. Contingency plans will be in place to change schedules if need be.
It's going to be big.
In is Canada's chef de mission, former track and field gold medalist Bruni Surin.
I went to see the organizing committee. Everybody's working very hard behind the scene in order to make the athletes to reach the potential.
Most of those athletes are focused on qualifying for Paris, though some have a prior engagement. Canada's women's soccer players are putting their Olympic gold medal defense on temporary hold.
Obviously, yeah, it's in the foreseeable future, but I think right now we're at this tournament, we're at a World Cup, and that's our main focus.
Surin has some key advice for the athletes.
In 1 year, we have an appointment. Never forget the fun factor. Always say to yourself, you do it for you.
That as Paris preps for what is the biggest sporting event in the world, the countdown is on. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Coming up, what does it take to make the world's most amazing sandwich? A group of friends say they have found the perfect ingredients in their quest to reinvent a Vietnamese classic.
When I was in high school at Three Oaks Senior High in Summerside, they offered an aerospace elective class, and I took it in grade 10 and 11, and I really enjoyed it. So that was kind of my first introduction that kind of nudged me into this line of work. Our role is to maintain the jets and keep them nice and safe and running smoothly for the air shows. We check them before the flight every morning, after the flight, and then we also replenish them, we fuel them, we put diesel and oxygen, and we clean them and everything. They're like our babies. We fly from location to location, so I just jumped out of, or I didn't jump out, I just got out of one of these about an hour ago, checked it, and now I'm here, so.
Got to kiss the ground on PEI.
Yeah, sure did.
That being said, I mean, do you ever get to be in there while stunts are being performed?
We get the opportunities to. I haven't yet because I'm a little scared. Just scared that I'm going to throw up, mostly. It's like you're being strapped into a roller coaster opposed to like the one seatbelt. So we have a bunch of seat straps or parachute straps, a big helmet with an oxygen mask, and you feel pretty much every move.
Let's go.
So what's it like to fly home to PEI with the snowbirds for an air show like this?
It's pretty exciting. This was on my bucket list once I got posted to the unit. I grew up in the King Cora area, went to school in Summerside, but I figure skated all across the island and I have family all across. It was really beautiful. I haven't really had the opportunity to fly over PEI too much, so it was nice to see all the fields and the beaches that I really missed. I'd definitely say if you have an interest, it's definitely worth trying out. I've really enjoyed it my whole career so far, and I don't plan on changing it anytime soon. My favorite part is traveling and meeting all the people that I get to meet, and just watching the air shows still. I still feel like a little kid watching them.
Land Back is a CBC original podcast where we uncover land theft in Canada and look at how Indigenous people are taking it all back.
And that's what empowered nations and empowered people to just literally steal land.
This is a consequence of your actions.
And it's time to give land back.
Land Back is out now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
We awarded British Columbia's Best Small Town. This summer, we're making a splash. It's the search for BC's Best Lake. Vote at cbc.ca/bestlakebc. And on August 6th, join the CBC Vancouver team at the 45th Annual Vancouver Pride Parade. The fun continues on at the Pride Festival. Make sure you drop by the CBC Vancouver tent and win some CBC swag.
A new Vietnamese banh mi stall has opened up at the Richmond night market, serving classic subs and some fusion sandwiches with Korean expired flavors. The masterminds behind the business are three friends who met at Douglas College. The trio launched the venture out of a desire to create a crispy baguette using bold spices and tangy pickles. Take a look.
Spicy chicken coming on the way. Very spicy and smoky hot.
Everyone in Vietnam, we eat banh mi. We eat for breakfast, banh mi for lunch, banh mi for snack. Canada is a very multiple culture country. So after researching, I decided to come to Canada, one of the beautiful country, and I have my relative living here as well.
I came to Vancouver in 2017 as an international student, and I spent 2 years to study PhD in marketing and business administration at Douglas College.
I grew up in Vietnam. I spent 24 years of my life there. I decided to study abroad. I fight for it. My parents did not allow me to go outside of Vietnam. To them, like, a girl should find a good job, get married as soon as possible, and don't go out, don't experience things. That's just for men.
Chef, how long is the spicy chicken? Spicy chicken, I'm coming in 2 minutes, guys. Got it?
Lynn, me, and Jenny, we all taking international supply chain management in Douglas College. We are always talking about open a small business together.
John, Ling, and I, we get along because we have the same hobby about cooking. We were combining Korean and Vietnamese cultural.
The Asian atmosphere at the mine market bring me back to home. The bold spices of Korean food go very well with the crispy banh mi and the sour from the pickles and on the green lettuce. It's balanced out.
My parents really hate the idea that I'm working at the night market. I want to pursue my own career like Jenny.
I started my catering business in 2021, focusing on the Vietnamese traditional food because I really miss my home style and my mom food.
Jenny is the hardest working person that I've never known in Canada. She's working 3-4 jobs at the same time. Usually, like we finish night market very late, by 1-2 a.m. and she coming home and take care of the baby and come back to work tomorrow morning. I don't know how she do it.
The first feeling when I see my baby at 2:30 in the morning is the guilty, cause like I feel like so bad to just let my baby at home without mom, and my husband is the one taking care of her. But seeing the baby after work is really amazing because it seemed like make all the tiredness gone away and ready for another day. Being a mom's really motivate me and strengthen me, help me have more motivation to purchase my dream.
Jenny is my role model for sure. Like she inspired me a lot. Like Jenny is the very hardworking person. She always keeps us on track. My parents just want me to have a stable job. Tell me like, stop working in the night market, yelling me, saying like, it's not worth it. You a girl, you should do this, you should do that. When someone say I cannot do anything, I would try to prove them that they are wrong.
I always believe in her that she will find the right path for her because she's very hardworking and very smart.
That's so cute. Thank you.
Running a business is not only my dream, but always my family tradition. My grandmother had business, my parents have a business.
I want to be a businesswoman. I think I got inspired by my aunt, who is a very successful businesswoman in Vietnam. Her quote is like, never give up and never let anyone else tell you not to do anything.
I'm very proud about Vietnamese foods, and that's why now I want to open my own restaurant so I can create my own menus. I can serve my own food for my customer.
I want to give my daughter the best condition to follow her dream, open like all the doors for her. Seeing her photo through the message is really motivated me and made me feel, oh, I need to do it fast. The Vietnamese, we have an idiom like everything starts difficult, but after you overcome the difficulties, so hard work will get paid off.
Quá trời luôn.
Lâu mới có dịp gặp ha.
I hate it when we end the show with food because I immediately need to eat. Need to pop over to the Richmond night market. Looks delicious. That is it for CBC Vancouver News tonight. Thanks so much for being with us, and we will see you back here tomorrow.